of the wordless sky. Bassline driving like footsteps in the hall. Guitar riffs wail as the shadows call. Poltergeist energy in the dance floor glow. Geeks Paranormal makes the haunted show.
Voices in the dark, can you hear them scream? Streaming to the living in the dream. Ghost in the static, moving with the beat. Geeks Paranormal, feel the night's heartbeat. Candles flicker, screens light the haze. Electronic storm in a spectral maze. From haunted halls to the digital streams, we chase the shadows, we chase the dreams.
Infrared lights scanning the room. Specters appear in the EGM gloom. Podcaster insight streamers, keen eye tracking the spirits as they float and fly. Spooky whispers while the circle line bend like a portal through space and time. Every note builds tension in the haunted air. Geeks Paranormal, the ghosts beware. Crowds at home watching the pulse unfold. Stories of the night in the visuals told. Dance with the phantoms, EDM embrace. Ghosts and humans share the same space.
Voices in the dark, can you hear them scream? Streaming to the living in the dream. Ghost in the static, moving with the beat. Geeks Paranormal, feel the night's heartbeat. Candles flicker, screens light the haze. Electronic storm in a spectral maze. From haunted halls to the digital streams, we chase the shadows, we chase the dreams. Whispers grow, machines hum,
Ghosts rise,
lights flicker.
heartbeat slows, darkness pulses.
Are you ready? Streams cut to black.
Silence holds
Only the static.
in Geeks Paranormal.
In the shadows,
Investigating,
streaming,
podcasting.
forever chasing the unseen.
Whispers in the static. Flickering lights. the other wordless sky. Bassline driving like footsteps in the hall. Guitar riffs wail as the shadows call. Poltergeist energy in the dance floor glow. Geeks Paranormal makes the haunted show.
Voices in the dark, can you hear them scream? Streaming to the living, living in the dream. Ghost in the static, moving with the beat. Geeks Paranormal, feel the night's heartbeat. Candles flicker, screens light the haze. Your time storming a spectral maze. From haunted halls to the digital streams. We chase the shadows, we chase the dreams.
Infrared lights scanning the room. Specters appear in the EGM gloom. Part tester insight streamers, keen-eyed, tracking the spirits as they float and fly. Spooky whispers ride the circle line. Bend like a portal through space and time. Every note builds tension in the haunted air. Geeks Paranormal, the ghosts beware. Crowds at home watching the pulse unfold. Stories of the night in the visuals told. Dance with the phantoms, EDM embrace.
And action. You're supposed to say the lines.
Oh, is it? I gotta say that?
Yes.
Public service announcement. The views and opinions are the opinions.
Fuck that bullshit. They are my opinions and my guests, no one else's. Remember, this show ain't for chitlins' ears, so listening discretion and viewing discretion is advised. This is a paranormal horror crime show, so the scenes and the sounds can be a little terrifying to those little ears and those little eyeballs. And of course, there's obviously cussing. I mean, it's me. Also, please don't do anything that these stupid ass people do in this video or this podcast. This is for entertainment purposes and for you guys to listen with your ears. Consume the knowledge. And now, time for the show.
Whispers in the static. Flickering lights. The night is listening. G.E.E.K.S Paranormal. Shadows know that something waits. Late night signals, the sensors hum. Geeks Paranormal, hear the spirits come. Streaming live to the curious eyes. Cameras flicker while the phantom fly. Poltergeist energy in the dance floor glow. Geeks Paranormal makes the haunted show.
Haunted halls to the digital streams. We chase the shadows, we chase the dreams.
What's up, everybody? It is Shauna with Exploring the Paranormal Perspective and founder of Geeks Paranormal, and you can just call me Geeks. Most everybody does. I have the wonderful Pat Fitzhugh with me today, and we're going to talk about the Greenbrier ghost. I'm going to ask him a couple of questions, and we're going to find out all about this case and what happened, and if the ghost really did stand trial. What's up, Pat? Thank you so much for coming on today.
Hey, why, hello, hello, hello. Glad to be here. How are you doing? Long time no see.
Oh, hanging in there like a hair in a biscuit, you know me. And yeah, it has been a long time.
Oh, yeah, great,
I think the last time I
great.
talked to you was at the convention, except for, chit chatting and Facebook and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
But
We were at the Arkansas convention. That's right.
yep, where we'll be again this year, everybody. So
That's
if y'all
right.
want to see Pat, you're going to have to go to the Arkansas Paranormal Expo in Little Rock, Arkansas, the last weekend before Halloween.
That's right. And if you want to see her act crazy with me, you can come there and see that too. We'll even sell you a ticket, right?
Yes, we will. Well, Pat, this case is very, very interesting because a ghost took the stand, technically, quotes. But to start off, though, you have been doing paranormal research for what, 45? Over 45 years?
Maybe 48.
48?
Uh, 1978, which I think that would be about 48, maybe by
Yeah.
now, something like that. I don't like to date myself like that. I guess my only saving grace is to say that I began
Better
this
when
serious
we're
research into paranormal. I was still a
together.
kid,
Yeah,
so I'm
so
not
it's better
that
when we're
old.
together.
I
But
can smooth it all over.
you're basically like the godfather of the Bell Witch research because that's what you talk about a lot. But today we're not talking about the Bell Witch. We're talking
Right.
about the Greenbrier ghost. So compare your usual Tennessee haunts to this West Virginia haunt. What's the difference in kind of the behavior?
Well, each story has its own unique characteristics and it grows with each retelling. At least if it's something where there's some truth in the roots of it, and then oral traditions, it keeps getting handed
Mm,
down and becomes folklore.
yeah.
Um, the Greenbrier ghost case, I could say that it is the quintessential Appalachian folktale.
Oh,
Not all Tennessee haunts are Appalachian folktales because not all of Tennessee was in the area considered or is in the area considered Appalachia. A lot of
right.
people make the mistake of saying the Bell Witch is an Appalachian tale, but it's not. That area is outside of Appalachia. But unlike like that case, the Greenbrier Ghost was right there up in the mountains of
Mhm.
Greenbrier County, West Virginia. It began as an actual murder case involving real people and commenced into an exhumation of a dead body, an autopsy inquest, and ultimately a conviction of first degree murder. And the, what would you want to call it? The criminal, I can't think of the word, the
The
perpetrator.
suspect.
Yeah, yeah, all circumstantial evidence, by the way, but we'll get to that later. He was sentenced to life in prison at another interesting location called the West Virginia State Penitentiary at Moundsville. And I cover that in my book, Ghostly Cries from Dixie, as well as this case too. But he ended up there. And what makes this case so bizarre, among any case, Appalachian or not, is that over the years, folklorists have begun to say that it's the only case in history where the testimony of a ghost led to the conviction of a man for first degree murder.
Now, see,
That's
that's
what really,
interesting in and of itself. But let's set the scene on this. It's West Virginia. It's like 1897. And the
yes,
victim's
like
name is Zona Hester Shue. And she's
Zona,
suddenly dead. And
yes,
the doctor,
Zona.
did the doctor say it was due to natural causes at first?
The first thing he said, um, he could not examine her once she was found, which goes into, there's a lot of detail behind all this. He could not fully examine her because Zona's husband Trout had his hands around her head and neck and was hugging her and crying profusely. And when the doctor did want to take a look up around her shoulders and neck, he became very angry and told the doctor just to leave Zona alone. And he had already dressed Zona and put her in the bed and everything by the time the doctor arrived. And
Well, that's
uh,
sus in and
yeah,
of
so
itself.
the doctor did not get to do a very thorough examination. He just noticed there were no outward signs of trauma, and he first attributed the cause of death to something called the everlasting faint, which I thought that was, that's kind of a strange term. I mean, is he saying her death was just death, and that death
Yeah.
basically means somebody faints and never wakes up? Actually, I came to find out that that was often used to describe congestive heart failure, which,
Oh.
which to me triggered a red flag. You had a
Mm,
slender 22-year-old female with
mm.
congested heart failure?
That
Come
makes no
on.
sense.
No, does not make sense.
No.
But then later, as in a few weeks later, he changed the cause of death to childbirth. So we need to kind of back up a little bit to understand how this came about. Zona Heaster was one of 9 children. She was the only female in the country. In the family. She was raised near the foot of Sewell Mountain, West Virginia, and around the 1895 time frame, she met this fellow by the name of Worthington. They did not get married. They conceived a baby, and she had the baby in November of that year. And then by 1896, she divorced with the guy. Uh, Apparently, he never wanted to get any type of job or take care of his family, so she divorced the guy because she
That sound
had,
familiar to some of you ladies in this modern day and age?
yeah, really. But, when this happened, Zona's mother, Mary, became very irate, and the family felt somewhat embarrassed. Back in those days, conceiving a child out of wedlock was just a big taboo and a hush hush
Um,
thing. So they pretended it never happened. They ended up raising that baby. Not even sure what the name was, but the baby was born. But because of that, Zona's mother became very protective over her, would not let her see anybody, court anybody, or anything. So by mid 1896, she was hanging out there in Lewisburg, West Virginia, meeting different people, and she ran into a guy. His name was, let me see if I can get this right. I really need a drink before I can say this dude's name. Edward Erasmus Stribling Trout Shoe.
Jeez, what a name.
Yeah, they say he preferred to either be called Ed or Trout. We'll just call him Trout. But she met this guy and they started courting. Her mother took
Mm,
an instant dislike to the guy, said that the guy had seemed very rude and arrogant, and he had a problem looking anyone in the eye when he spoke to them.
mm,
That's all she knew about him. And
mhm,
there was other stuff going on, or had gone on, she wasn't yet aware of, but which later came out. Uh, First off, in 1885, when Trout was 24 years old, he
mm,
married a 16-year-old girl uh, who had become pregnant by him. And they started to raise the baby. And then the next thing you know, she divorced Trout on the grounds that he had a very fiery, quick temper and he had physically abused both her and the baby.
um,
So that was that.
mm,
Then a few years went on. We don't really know where Trout was or what he did, but at some point he ended up serving 2 years in the West Virginia State Penitentiary for stealing horses. Then
Ah.
by about 1894, he shows up in Greenbrier County, West Virginia, in the northern part, and marries a woman there. And that marriage was very short lived. She died a very sudden and mysterious death. There was no investigation, inquest, or anything. Later on, somebody who had known him said that he had once said that his second wife died tragically when he was working on the house and accidentally dropped a brick on her head. So that was wife number two. So now we're up to uh, late summer of 1896. He and Zona Heister are courting. That goes on for a couple of months. Then all of a sudden, October 20th, 1896, the two of them get married without telling anyone, asking anybody anything. They got married first, and then a notice was put in the local newspaper 2 days later about their marriage. Of course, Mrs.
Oh.
Heister, her mother, was just really beside herself. And the story is she went all around the county, everybody she knew talking about how suspicious this guy acted. Like he was really trying to hide a lot of secrets. He was
Mhm.
very rude, arrogant, definitely not the type of guy she wanted as a son in law.
Right.
But Zona, having been the only female and having 8 siblings, all males, very large
Mm.
family, a very poor family, she was probably, at the point she was tired of being like pent up, the family and scrutinized by her family all the time, all these brothers looking after their baby sis and then
Mm.
mother looking after her. So I don't know that Trout Shoe's character flaws and red flags really registered with Zona. I mean, she loved him and she placed trust in him. And that ultimately created problems. Now,
Were
that
her
was
brothers
October.
ever involved in any of the telling her, hey, yeah, maybe you should have waited for this, or maybe you should have.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I do not know. As large as her family was, there's practically no information
Oh.
on what any of the brothers or the father ever did or said, even though they all lived together there in that little house.
Mm.
The mother was the only person that was part of the folklore story as well as part of the historical accounts of this case.
Oh.
There was some speculation going on in that area at the time as to why Trout and Zona would just suddenly marry like that without
Yeah.
even telling anyone. I mean, if they were going to get married, they would be happy. They'd want to tell everyone, but they didn't tell anybody until after the
Mm.
fact. That was really strange to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And the reason will come out here in a few minutes, but it was strange they got married so quickly. Well, through the last couple of months of 1896, nothing changed, nothing happened. But then in early 1897, Dr. George Knapp, who was the local doctor, had entered into some records that another researcher had found at some point, saying that he had made several trips out to see Mrs. Shue at the old Livesay place. The old Livesay place was a very large home that was once occupied by a man by the last name of Livesay, who was like a founding father of that county. Very big home. Zona and Trout had rented that upon their marriage.
Mm.
But Dr. Knapp had made a few trips out there, and the only thing he was seeing Zona for, or at least that was in the record, he just listed it as female trouble.
Mm.
Well, we move forward a little bit up to January 23rd. That morning, he set out for the blacksmith shop where he worked there in Lewisburg,
Mm.
and he stopped by the home of an old lady who lived between his house and the blacksmith shop. Her name was, they called her Aunt Martha, and she had a kid, I think it was a grandson that lived with her by the name of Jesse, who was 11 years old. He asked her to have Jesse come and check on Zona at some point during the day. That Zona had been sick. She was supposed to be getting a lot of rest. She had said she'd wanted to go outside and get some eggs to pickle, but she was not supposed to leave the house. She was supposed to be resting in bed.
Mm.
But for him to go check on her and make sure she's okay, and then go to the blacksmith shop and tell Trout that she's okay or whatever she found. So Trout went on to the blacksmith shop, and the little boy, Jesse, and I'm going to tell you, in this part, I'm going to tell you the actual historical piece and research piece, not
Okay.
what you hear in the folklore. Actually, I think I better start with the folklore. Um, well, second, I mean, this is such a big case to wrap your head around. I need to tell you the
Yeah.
historical piece, and I'll bring in the folklore later. So Jesse showed up at the house. He went up to the front door. He knocked several times, no answer. Then he finally opened the door. It was unlocked. He looked in, he saw nothing, nothing around the staircase, nothing at all. And he yelled for Mrs. Shue's name, or Zona.
Mm.
Nothing was heard. Well, he
Mm.
thought that was really strange. So he decided maybe to try the back door. So he walked around the house and went towards the kitchen door. At that point, he noticed what looked like a trail of blood leading from out in the yard up the two steps onto the back porch by the kitchen door and all the way up to the kitchen door. He later
Huh.
said in an interview that it scared him to death, but it made him more curious. He had to know what was going on. So he
Mm.
walked up to that door and he beat on the door time and time again, no answer. He finally pushed it open, yelled for Zona Shoe again, no answer. So he walked into the kitchen. No one was there. The trail of blood led through the kitchen to the dining room. Now, the door between the dining room and the kitchen was shut. He knocked on the dining room door, heard nothing, so he decided to prop it open and look in. And when he did, he saw Zona lying there on the floor at the entrance of the dining room, dead. That was what was found. So the little boy was just terrified. He ran out of the
Yeah.
house, ran by his house. He told Aunt Martha that Miss Shue was dead and she needed to get over there and check her. Then he ran on into town to the blacksmith shop and told Trout Shue. They say Trout just broke down crying and was just really, really beside himself, really upset. And he headed straight back for his house. Meanwhile, Jesse, the little boy, went to get Dr. Knapp to let him know so he could come out and investigate. Okay, by the time Dr. Knapp arrived at the house, Trout Shue had already been there, had arrived, and had taken Zona's body upstairs, changed her clothes into a very nice dress with a very tall collar on it.
Mm.
And he sat next to Zona as the doctor started checking her out. He hugged her head and neck very tightly, would not let go, and he just sobbed uncontrollably. And when the doctor reached the point of where he was close to her head and neck, he told the doctor just to go away and leave Zona alone. She died. So Dr. Knapp never really
Mm.
got a chance to perform much of an examination, for a cause of death. No obvious signs of trauma.
So why did the
And he,
people just accept that particular answer, even though they knew he wasn't able to get a good autopsy, so to speak?
well, that came into play when people noticed his behavior at the funeral.
Ah.
The doctor initially recorded the cause of death as being everlasting faint, congestive heart failure. I don't buy that. 22-year-old female, slender, having
Yeah.
congestive
Mm-mm.
heart failure. No. He later changed that cause of death, which we'll go into here in a few minutes. But at Zona's funeral, which was held at her house, Trout Shoe the whole time was up near her head and neck, hugging her tightly, crying profusely, and he had put this large scarf over her neck, in addition to the tall collar on the dress.
Mm.
And on each side of her head, he placed a small pillow. And people would ask him, why are these pillows? and he said he wanted the body of his beloved to be as comfortable as possible. People, thought that was a little strange,
Mm-hmm.
especially when he would adjust those pillows and it appeared as though Zona's head was not even connected to her body. It was so loose.
Oh.
So we had the problems there. And some people, Zona's mother in particular, noticed that anytime someone approached the casket and even looked towards Zona's head or neck, that Trout would become very nervous and sometimes ask them if they could please step away and give her room to rest. Well, that
Uh-huh.
raised a lot of suspicion, and several people went to the local prosecutor bringing that up, uh, suggesting that perhaps she was murdered for this guy. People didn't know much about him. He was an outsider, but what they did know, they didn't like about him. And something just wasn't right. And one person had allegedly seen Trout adjust this scarf near her head and seen what looked like a lot of swelling and bruising up around her head and neck. Now, keep in mind, he dressed her right after she was found dead, and there was no other preparation or anything done, so nobody else would have known. So the prosecuting attorney started taking down all of this information, of course, circumstantial in nature. Then he had to talk to a couple of people, one of which was
You are a raider.
Mary Jane.
Legendary.
Raid inbound.
Thank you for the braid, Elf Mod.
On my stream. I'm a variety streamer. I do a lot of different things, but I love to play board
goodness.
games. I love to do podcasts. I love to talk to people.
Thank you for the raid. Thank you for the raid. We're talking about the Greenbrier ghosts and the trial that happened. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, so one of the people on the district attorney or the DA's list to talk to was Zona's mother,
Mhm.
because there'd been a lot of talk around the county about how she constantly badmouthed Trout Shue, and she had
Mhm.
voiced a lot of concern about his demeanor at the funeral, as had a lot of other people. So
Right.
she met with the district attorney, and this was about a week and a half, 2 weeks after her burial, after
Mhm.
her obituary had appeared in the newspaper and everything. The DA was considering charges, and she told the DA of a visitation she had by Zona's ghost. She told him that for 4 nights in a row, late at night, Zona's ghost would appear by her bed, first in the form of a very bright light, and then it would materialize into Zona. And this ghost gave a detailed explanation of what happened to her, as in how she
Mhm.
died, and that it was Trout Shue who had killed her. As the story went, the ghost said that she had prepared dinner one night. She had some preserves, some apple butter, and some other items, but did not prepare any meat for dinner. Trout came in from a hard day's work at the blacksmith shop and was furious. He wanted more of a dinner than that. And he was known to have a very quick and very violent temper.
Mhm.
And he began reaching for her like he was going to try to hit her or grab her. So she dashed out of the kitchen, dashed all the way up the steps, went into their bedroom, and locked the door behind her in hopes that he would calm down.
Mhm.
Well, that didn't happen. He went in there, he broke open the door, and took her by the neck, slung her around over and over, kept pushing her up against the wall, trying to hit her, and eventually slung her down the steps to where she fell all the way to the bottom and lay dead.
Mhm.
That was the ghost's explanation to Mary Jane Easter, Zona's mother.
Now, I know Mary Jane was going through, what grief-stricken
Yeah.
mother would go through. Was there
Right.
anything that the ghost told her that she may not have known that could have sparked this interest from others that she was talking to?
Only that the thing broke her neck. Or excuse me, only that trout
Broke her neck.
broke her neck.
Hmm.
Now, I would speculate and say she highly suspected that, and probably some other people did as well, because they had already brought it up to the DA that this guy who they did not like, who did not seem like a very savory guy, would not leave her head and neck and would go berserk anytime somebody even came close, and that even upon her death, he would not even let the doctor near her head and neck.
Hmm.
So I really think her mother had a good idea that the neck had been broken or something, and
Hmm.
she herself had seen some swelling and bruising in that area at the funeral when Trout tried to change the scarf.
Hmm.
Now, the DA heard all of this. There's no record of him having any comment or making any public statement about this story of the ghost appearing to the mother. And he continued about his investigation. The last person he had to talk to was Dr. Knapp. He had not heard from the doctor. So he asked the doctor to describe to him the scene of Zona's death and his examination right after death.
Hmm.
And Dr. Knapp explained that he didn't notice anything, any signs of trauma, but that the husband, Trout, was hugging her very tightly. He was crying profusely and grieving really hard, and had finally told him to leave. And he never got to examine up above her shoulders.
He must have been a really good actor to sit there and pull that off if he did kill her, because I mean, or maybe he
Yeah,
was just insane.
yeah, either actor or insane, but there's no historical record of him ever being, part of a theater community or drama community, even though he put in quite a performance at his trial. So, with that information and the testimony of the other people, I don't know if the ghost story played into it or not. The DA set up for an inquest and an exhumation for an autopsy of Zona.
Hmm.
That was carried out, I believe it was around February 25th of 1897. She was exhumed and taken to the Nickel Schoolhouse, which was a one-story schoolhouse up on Sewell Mountain, and that's where the autopsy took place. There were 3 doctors present, as well as the local sheriff. Now, by law back then, the next of kin had to be there too. Zona's mother, for whatever reason, wasn't there. That's the next of kin bloodline. So that meant the only other person that could be there was Trout. So he was at the autopsy. He made no effort to conceal anything. They said the whole time he was very, very quiet, and he just sat there and whittled on a stick of wood. Seemed a little nervous, but quiet.
Didn't
And
her
as
mother
the,
go to the prosecutors before they dug her up though and said that
yes,
her?
mhm.
Okay. Hmm.
Yeah, she told the ghost story to the prosecutor as one of the many people he talked to about the possibility of murder. Yes, that was before the exhumation.
Hmm.
And she said that the ghost told her exactly what happened. Now that we're at the autopsy point, we're going to see what really happened.
Hmm.
First of all, right off the bat, the ghost testimony about the broken neck was confirmed. However, that was not the primary cause of death. The primary cause of death was strangulation. They found that Zona's windpipe had been completely crushed. The ghost never told Mrs. Heaster anything about being strangled,
Could the
but that's
windpipe
what
have been butt crushed whenever she broke her neck?
could have been. I don't know. I'm not,
Mm.
I'm not medically
Yeah,
qualified to say,
me
but
neither.
I would think though, if that were done, even if it was in the same hand movement,
Yeah,
he would have had to have gone through the windpipe before he reached the neck,
yeah. So
which
yeah.
who knows, she could have been passed away before her neck was even broken. We don't know. But the ghost testimony or the ghost statement to her in that visitation was that
Mm,
the neck was broken, and that was confirmed.
yeah.
But what was not confirmed by the ghost, that is, was the crushed windpipe.
Right.
And so that was pretty strange. Also, what differed with the ghost is the ghost told Mrs. Heaster that she died at the foot of the steps after being slung down the steps. Years later, the little boy who actually found her in the dining room testified in an interview that she was found in the dining room, which was two complete rooms away from where the steps were.
Mm,
So, I feel, as some other researchers do, is that that boy's testimony was critical in a lot of things. Not his testimony, it was just an interview with a paper.
right.
So, the ghost story doesn't add up from that standpoint either.
Mm-mm. Not unless he moved the body before he went to work. I mean, that's the only
Mo-
other.
Moved it into the dining room,
Yeah,
but the boy also said in his interview that the trail of blood leading from outside
that's
stopped with her
true.
body,
So
which I know.
he killed her outside and then drug her inside.
Mm,
Maybe.
possibility. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I have my own theory, but
We're gonna get to that.
yeah, this case, I mean, we're not even to the part where I start dropping these
Mm.
bombs yet, and there are a few of them. But so that autopsy was probable cause, and the
Mm,
sheriff immediately placed Trout's shoe under arrest, first-degree murder, right then and
mm,
there at the autopsy location. The first words out of Trout's mouth were, "There is no way you'll ever be able to prove that I did that."
mm.
That was brought up at trial, and that didn't really set too well with the jury. He was taken to the local jail, where, upon a few occasions, he told other inmates what he was in for and made it a point to tell them that there's no way they will ever be able to prove that he did it.
Mm.
Of course, those inmates were questioned at trial, and that looked really bad on him as well.
Yeah.
Perhaps the worst thing he told anybody about this was in the trial itself. Now, the trial started, jury selection lasted a day, the trial lasted about 4 days. For an entire afternoon at the trial, Trout Shue testified on his own behalf against the advice of his attorneys.
Mm-hmm.
The record shows that he just went on rambling about a bunch of things that were completely irrelevant to the case, as though he was trying to throw everybody's mind off of the case at hand.
Mm,
One of the things he mentioned and he came clean about was Zona was his third wife, and she had passed away.
mm.
Then he went on to say that as a child, he had always had this fantasy of wanting to have a total of 7 wives.
What?
He told that to the courtroom and the jury. And that, too, did not sit very well with the jury. So
Mm.
that whole afternoon, pretty much his own testimony pretty much convicted him, along with the testimony of the others who noticed his behavior around the time, and as well as his past being brought up and him coming clean about it in court. But what about the ghost? What about this ghost? The prosecution never, not even once, entered the ghost testimony into evidence at the trial. Did not bring it up, did not even ask Zona's mother about the image she saw. However, the defense did. Trout Shoe's lawyers brought it up as a way of trying to discredit Zona's mother because they
Trying to
know
say she was
Zona's mother
crazy.
had it in
Mm.
for Trout. They asked her if it was true that she had been telling people around the county that Zona's ghost visited her, to which she answered yes. Then they asked her if she really believed that. And she said, yes, I believed it because I saw it with my own two eyes. That is all that was said about the ghost story at the trial. The ghost didn't testify at the trial. It was basically her mother giving what amounted to hearsay testimony from a ghost who really didn't remember much about the death because they couldn't remember that they were strangled and they forgot where their body was found. So some things kind of fishy there. It didn't add up.
Hmm.
Makes you wonder what happened. Um,
And how it became
so
to this day of the people believing that a ghost was actually at the trial.
it's folklore.
Yeah.
And a lot of that actually got started by a newspaper in Beckley, West Virginia. That newspaper, on many occasions over the years, published a very sensationalized version of this case. It became more sensationalized with every publication they did.
Oh goodness.
So you had that, and opposing that, you had, of course, the testimony of Jesse, the little boy who had grown up, the one who found her,
Mm.
and also a letter written to that newspaper, apparently in protest to the sensationalized article they published from the actual judge over the case, Judge McWhirter, setting a few things straight. So it's very interesting there. Now, let's travel back to something. We talked earlier about Zona and Trout marrying so suddenly.
Right.
Why did they have to get married so quickly? Then 3 months after their marriage, the doctor's over there visiting Zona for female trouble. We don't know what that female trouble was. It could have been probably several things, but we do know
Very
that he'd
good.
ordered her to stay in the house and not do anything physical.
She had to have
Then
been
we have the
pregnant.
testimony. Yeah. So Dr. Knapp, approximately a week after entering her cause of death on the official record, which I have a copy of, by the way, as being everlasting faint or congestive heart failure, he changed her cause of death to childbirth.
Oh.
There was nothing in the story or anywhere else saying that a child was ever found there at the home with her dead body. So here's what I think happened. I think at some point, maybe the day before she was found, Trout was at the blacksmith shop working. He came home, went into the kitchen. Zona was fixing dinner. He went in, sat down at the table, and perhaps started eating dinner there at the table in the dining room. Zona went back into the kitchen, and for whatever reason, she did what she had been forbidden to do by both the doctor and by Trout. She went outside and did some physical activity, and as a result, miscarried.
Mm.
Hence the blood trail going there up the steps, through the kitchen, and into the dining room. She apparently went into the dining room to tell Trout Shoe, who was eating, what had just
Uh,
happened. The fact that she did what she was forbidden to do, and that she apparently lost or was about to lose their child,
mm.
Trout Shoe went absolutely nuts. He grabbed her, he strangled her, he shook her, slammed her on the floor at just where they found her. That's what I
Mm.
think happened
Sounds
based
like
on the
it's plausible.
historical evidence. So we're not really done with this. Was this the only case, really the only case in history where a testimony or actions of a ghost has sent somebody to prison? Well, I don't think this was was a case of that at all. I think Trout's conviction came from circumstantial evidence as well as the medical evidence. But what about other cases? The answer is no, this is not the only such case. Another case out of Australia back in 1826 or 1823, very similar thing occurred. This was with a man. He ended up being a missing person and feared dead. A friend of his prayed over and over for some type of guidance as to where to find his missing friend and praying that the friend was alive. Short time later, he was working on a fence. He had a visitation by what he thought was his friend, but turned out to be his friend's ghost. And the ghost directed him in a certain direction over the side of a cliff. So he got the authorities involved. Authorities searched that area and sure enough found the guy dead there. The guy whose ghost had told the guy where his body was. And interestingly enough, the friend who was so concerned was the one who was ultimately found guilty of first degree murder and sent off to prison.
What?
Yeah, his friend.
Oh
Yeah,
my
so,
god.
but then, of course, as I expected, a few years later, while in prison, the guy confessed to making up the entire ghost story about being told by a ghost. So the case of Zona Shoe in West Virginia is not the only case where folklore has said that a ghost sent somebody to prison.
Oh my god.
There was also
He pretty much put
Australia.
himself in prison.
Yeah, kind of like Trout Shoe did when he got up on the
Yep.
witness stand. Are you ready for a bomb?
I'm ready for a bomb. Hit me with it.
Okay, incoming pat bomb. Take cover. Okay, how in the world could the same situation that happened in Australia happen in West Virginia under similar circumstances 75 years later? I mean, a ghost visited Mrs. Heaster. Perhaps we cannot prove that it didn't, but we certainly can't prove it did. But I mean, a week or two, like I think it was 2 weeks after Zona's obituary appeared in the paper, which means 2 weeks and 2 days after Zona was found dead, her mother started telling everybody about this ghost apparition. Okay, let's go back to the obituary. And I have that obituary. It came out of the Thursday, January 28th, 1897 edition of the Greenbrier Independent, page 3. And that was the obituary. It didn't say very much, just the fact that she was dead, laid to rest, and survived by family. That was all. That was on page 3. Now, surely Zona's mother received a copy of that newspaper. It was the local paper. So surely she got that. I mean, it was her own daughter's obituary, so I'm sure she had the paper.
Right.
Some argue that maybe she was illiterate and couldn't read the paper. But I would submit that because her daughter's obituary is in there, somebody probably read it to her if she was illiterate.
Yeah.
Now, let's look at that paper and go back to page 1. January 28th, 1897, Greenbrier, West Virginia. There is a story on page 1 about a ghost in Australia sending a man to prison. And it was the story I just told you. So, yes, that same other situation where a ghost allegedly sent a man to prison was published in the same newspaper on the same day as Zona's obituary, January 28th. And a couple of weeks later, Zona's mother comes up telling the story of a ghost visitation that is very similar in nature to the one she read about in the paper 2 weeks earlier.
Oh my goodness. Oh
Now,
my
people,
goodness.
people can draw their own conclusions and believe what they want. But I do believe that her idea for this story did not come from a visitation from Zona, but from the more likely cause, which was by reading it in the paper. And I mean, think
Yeah.
about it. This was her daughter, her one and only daughter. She was very protective over the daughter, and she knew from the outset that this trout shoe guy was a complete loser or just not a good fellow.
Yeah.
She knew, gut instinct, he had to have killed her, and she was hell bent on making sure that justice was served.
Nope.
Could you blame her? I
No.
mean, they had already listed a cause of death, childbirth. They buried her. They did an autopsy, but that wasn't until after she reported the ghost. I mean, I think it was an attempt at grasping at straws, some way to
Yep.
convince people to bring this idiot to justice.
Yep.
And I think that's what happened. And that article about Australia story gave her the perfect opportunity.
It definitely did. Now, did Trout ever confess during his time, or did he go to the graves claiming he was in?
There's nothing, well, he, of course, he maintained his innocence throughout the trial and even later. We do know that while he was at Moundsville, he would
Mm,
sit there and draw picture after picture of him and Zona together in a house, just doing, normal family life or whatever.
mm,
He would draw, he was a good artist, would draw pictures of himself at Zona.
mm.
Then in the year 1900, there were epidemics of measles and pneumonia that hit Moundsville State Penitentiary really hard. And he died. And he's buried there at Moundsville in an unmarked grave.
Karma. Karma.
Karma.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. Wow. So, in your beliefs or in your thoughts, do you think that what happened to his previous wives, he was the cause of it?
Do I think he was actually the killer?
Yeah.
I can't prove it. And today, in a court of law, he would not be convicted because everything is circumstantial. Even if they
Yeah.
found out that her neck had been broken, that doesn't necessarily put him behind the hands that broke her neck. Now, they could wiggle through a bunch of, like eyewitness testimony, cameras, and a lot of other stuff that they didn't have back then, and probably say he's the only person that could have been around at the time. But I think by today's standards, they would say circumstantial evidence. But I personally do feel, based on his background, one wife died mysteriously, the other one was beat up by him. He made the comment
Mhm.
he wanted 7 wives. He
Yeah.
never admitted guilt or innocence about Zona until later on. He maintained his innocence. All he could
Mhm.
say was that they'd never be able to prove it. Looking at all that and the fact that how she was found and the circumstances, I do believe he flew off the handle when he
Mhm.
found out she had miscarried, and right after that, and he killed her. I believe he did.
So, you've researched a lot, countless paranormal cases. What makes the Greenbrier ghost case stand out beyond the obvious courtroom drama? What makes it stand out more than other paranormal cases?
Well, that is mainly it.
Mm,
That over the years, folklore has recognized it as the only case in history where a ghost testimony sent a man to
mm,
prison, even though the ghost did not testify, and in fact, the DA did not even enter the ghost testimony into evidence at the trial. It was only the defense that brought it up, trying to make the mother look like she was crazy.
yeah.
But that is the big thing that differentiates the case from many of them. I mean, a lot of paranormal cases, people experience visitations from different types of
Mm,
entities. Sometimes there's communication, sometimes there's not. one thing I did think was interesting in this story that Zona's mother told about the entity's visitation
Mm.
was that on the fourth night of this visitation, that Zona's ghost seemed like she did not think her mother believed any of this and
Mm.
was trying desperately to convince her mother that this is what happened, that she was thrown down the steps and her neck was broken.
Yeah.
And at the very last sight of this apparition, Zona looked at her mother and spun her head all the way around to show her that her neck was really broken.
Wow. Okay. We
I
got a
was
little
like, what's that?
exorcist going on
I
here.
was going to say The Exorcist. I was wondering where they ever came up with that idea. But yeah,
uh, the
it's crazy.
Greenbrier ghost, y'all. It's in movies too.
Yeah, and you know, it's such a great story, Appalachian folklore. And, you know, the more you delve into it, the more you see about, you know, the Appalachian culture, traditions and customs at the time
Mm.
and all that. So it gives you a really good history lesson as well.
So do you think that what does this case actually tell us about Victorian era attitudes toward death, ghosts, and the supernatural? Or do you think they were more open to this stuff back then, or was this case unusual even for 1897?
I think they were very much open to it. History tells us that, folklore studies tell us that as well.
Mm.
Um, and you were right there in the
Better when we're
1890s
together.
in an era
Yeah, it's always
where
better when we're
all of these different
together.
ghost stories over the 1800s were being republished and told in newspapers and books all the
Yeah.
time. If there wasn't an interest or at least some belief, all those publications wouldn't have happened because
Mm.
people wouldn't have bought them.
Yeah. True.
So, yeah, there was a lot of demand, a lot of ghost craze back then. Now, I did mention that the defense brought up the ghost visitation,
Mm-hmm.
and her mother only said that I know it's true because I saw it with my own eyes and I heard it. Now, the jury heard this. How much weight did they put into it?
Mm.
That's hard to say. People were more open to ghostly visitations back then, ghosts. And I mean, 19th century Appalachia isn't exactly the University of Skepticism either, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of tales, stories, and what do they call it, haints and boogers and all these other things that lurk up there in those mountains, you
Yes.
know. So we don't know what type of impact her statement of saying it was true had on the jury. You know, it's just my personal opinion. I'm no lawyer, even though I was a pre-law major and had some legal training. I'm no lawyer, but in my opinion, the scale of justice is heavily weighted by the medical evidence and the evidence of his demeanor,
Right.
even though I don't necessarily think circumstantial evidence is enough to meet the burden of proof for murder.
And
But hey, the jury bought it and they convicted him.
yeah, that
So,
is
you know,
wow. That's a very, very interesting case. But aside from this case, like you've written extensively about Southern paranormal legends, what is it about the South that produces such a rich, enduring ghost story? Is it the history, the climate, the sweet tea?
oh, all of the above. The southeastern US is just so conducive to hauntings. I
Mm.
mean, so many different tragedies have happened. You know, Civil War battles, Native American and early settler battles, people being mistreated, murdered, gambling debts, all kinds of things. It seems the South had a lot more of that going on than a lot of other regions of the country. And anytime you have a tragedy, you're going to eventually have stories come out of it.
Yeah.
Also, you look at the roots of the people who settled in the Southeast.
Mm.
where they came from. A lot of those came from Ireland and England. Those areas back then, especially in medieval times, there were a lot of different beliefs and different entities and everything up there, and like through the British Isles and all of that.
Mm.
A lot of folklore up there. And that
Mm.
traveled down. So I think the people had a propensity to pass along different tales and information. And you put that up into a big old pot and stir it up, and brew it up, and you've got the perfect area that's just
Mm.
perfectly ripe for a haunting. And every single tragedy or event that happened there, we get into a stone tape theory thing, where essentially it has baked a spiritual residue into the region. And that residue still lingers on today,
Mm.
and it mutates.
Mm. It's like the whisper whenever you listen to the folklore and you listen to the actual facts that have gone through with all of history's paranormal events, myths, legends. Something has to have happened during that time for that to occur to become the legend and myth that it is today.
I
Um,
agree.
it's like vampires and werewolves. I mean, somebody had to have seen something to create a old vampire kit that people are showing in museums and stuff to this day. So, I mean,
Absolutely. There is a seed. Something
mm,
started it. No
yes.
matter what case you're talking about, something, no matter how paranormal or how benign or whatever, something started it.
Well,
And it just
well,
took off.
it just took off running.
Yep.
Before we let you go, are you going to be doing any new books, any new research or cases that you're going to be investigating that we should be watching for?
Oh, I'm always researching and looking at different cases. As far as books are concerned, there is a Bell Witch book on the back burner for right now, but I've gotten halfway through writing it. Will be called the Bell Witch Enigma. It is a fresh new perspective on the entire Bell Witch case.
Mm.
It gives readers the chance to view the whole case through a completely different lens than anyone has ever presented it before.
Oh.
That case, we have believers, we have, the believer view, we have the skeptical view who says it never even happened to begin with. Those are the only two lenses. Either it happened or it didn't.
Mm.
But there's a third lens to look through out there, which nobody has ever discovered. Perhaps somebody thought about it, but they've never documented it. But I have. And that new theory was first born to me in 2006. Somebody said something to me at a lecture event that got me to thinking, and then 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 2 is 195. The stuff didn't make sense, but I was able to make it make sense. And I
Mm.
worked on that theory for a number of years. Total secrecy, total silence. And
Mm.
I'm going to present that in the book.
Wait.
It's not going to be presented as solving what really happened, but it's going to be
Mm.
presenting what is most likely the case because it has the most substantial evidence, scientific evidence behind what most likely occurred. That
Ooh.
is on the back burner for right now because there's so much going on so many fronts. Uh,
Yeah.
but at least it's already halfway written.
Sweet.
Also, and
Good.
also paranormally wise, I have the Arkansas Paranormal Expo in October. I'll be there again this year, and
Woohoo!
that's all. None of the other ones want to be back. So, uh, but hey, Arkansas is the biggest and the best. So I'm glad,
Yes, it is.
more than honored to be there. It's definitely a good event. Whether you're interested in cryptids, UFOs, um, ghosts and legends. You want to talk with psychics. You want to look at metaphysical products. You want to buy
Mm,
books about the paranormal. You've got it all right there.
all in one
And
place.
and then their speaker lineup. They have speakers on all these different topics. And, these speakers are not somebody, people who just went out and decided to do a YouTube and get 6 million followers or something like that, but people who have
Mm.
actually spent years out there in the field actually researching and documenting this stuff. People who can sit down in front of an audience and actually teach them something instead of just come
Mhm.
up and give them a fist bump.
Yeah,
So, I think it's a very high quality paranormal expo. It always is.
it
Rhonda
is.
and her
Rhonda does a
crew.
great job.
Oh,
She
I don't
really.
see how she remains sane, and she's one of the most sanest people I know.
She
But,
makes you
I
feel
mean,
like
with the,
family. She does. She is
oh
absolutely
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. I mean, it's like every time I go there, it's like I'm going to my aunt's house or something. Even though I don't think she's not old enough to be my aunt, but it's like going to my aunt's house for
Yeah.
Christmas or something. But I'm really looking forward to it, and I hope you're going to be there as well. You're always one of the
I
my
am.
highlights when I go there.
Aw. Well, thank you. I enjoy going. I absolutely love it. I love talking to the people. I love interviewing the people. It has been a very interesting ride going there for the gosh, how many years have I been going there now? Since she brought it back. So 2021 was the first time I went, and I've been going ever
I think
since.
it was about 5 or 6.
Yeah, I love it. I'll keep going as long as she asks me to go. So,
Oh, yeah, it is really a blast. It's a blast, and
mm.
of course, when you get Keith Age and me both on an
Oh
interview at the same
yes,
time, yeah, all hell's going to break loose. But
it usually
it,
does.
keep
Keith,
Keith and me off the mic, and it'll go pretty well.
y'all do awesome on the interviews together. Especially when I had you on that interview a couple of years ago. That was a really good interview. I'll have to get you guys back over there and sitting with me, and maybe even the Amok crew this year too, so we could bounce
Oh
some
yeah, we
ideas off
could.
your heads.
Yeah, we could have fun between Keith and me. I know we can get you entertained.
Oh, definitely. Now tell everybody
He
where they
was
can. He was what?
you know was talking about Keith.
Uh huh.
He's like me. He's been in this field for years and years and years, and he's had
Yes.
everything happen to him too. So we were talking, and he introduced me to somebody last year, or we were talking
Mhm.
with, I think it was Debbie, who is part of Geeks, I believe. I know she's tied
She
in with
used to
you for
be.
the
She
youth.
used to be.
Okay,
Now she
that's who it
has her
was. Yeah.
own. Yeah, now she
Okay.
has her
Yeah, that's
own.
right.
But
Yeah, Debbie Thorson. I think
yes,
of Debbie. Yeah.
Debbie Thorson. Hmm.
And I don't think he knew that she and I had met before or something. And he introduced me to her. He says, "This is Pat. Uh, Pat caused me to beat the hell out of some guy at a convention one time." Thinking, okay, what, Keith? What in the heck are you talking about? And he's like, "I went to such and such place, and there was a miniature paranormal convention, and I saw one of Pat's friends there, and I asked her because she was hanging around some guy. I asked her how Pat was, and as soon as I did that, she had this guy that looked like Conan the Barbarian with her that started asking him, 'Who is Pat? What are you talking about?' And he explained to the guy that Pat was just a friend of hers. That was all." Um, and this guy decided to start a fight with Keith. So Keith ended up having to like just about put the guy in the hospital.
Oh
But
no!
so he blamed me for that.
Of course he would.
But yeah, I guess I'm a catalyst for fights or
Fights,
drama. I don't know. Yeah,
drama.
but yeah, put Keith and I together. We can definitely
Oh
make some people laugh.
yes,
I think
definitely.
he and I even one time even talked about the idea of teaming up and going around for paranormal events, like with musical instruments and playing a little bit of music, and then talking about our careers and the paranormal situations we've been into and about ghost stories, something like Two Grumpy Old Men or something like that. But I don't know. I still think about that from time to time. That may be a good idea.
It might be. Get some interesting stuff out there. Write some songs about some of the places y'all been to and stuff. That'd be interesting.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Now tell everybody where they can get a hold of you to find your books or to get you on a podcast, since you've been over our 300 appearances.
Over the years, at least, at least, yeah. Okay, to get a hold of me, just reach up here and grab my arm. Full hard no. Okay, so I have a couple websites. One is about the Bell Witch. It's called bellwitch.org. If you want a signed copy of my Bell Witch book or the Ghostly Cries from Dixie book, which discusses the Greenbrier ghost from a folklore standpoint, as well as Moundsville Prison, you can get it at bellwitch.org. bellwitch.org. And there's also a link from my other website, my author site, called www.patfitzhugh.com. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, and the usual run of things there. As far as podcast interviews, paranormal conference appearances, anything like that, all it takes is reaching out. And what I'll do is send you a link to a page that gives all of the information you'll need about that, along with a little questionnaire, so that I can better respond to you about what I'm able to do and not able to do, that sort of thing. All it takes is a simple reach out.
Just simple reach out like I did. I reached out to him. I got him on my show. So,
Right.
Thank you, Pat.
I'll never wash this shirt again.
Aw.
I'll never wash this shirt. It's been wonderful. It's been a great experience as always. I had a lot of fun here talking.
Oh, yes. I always enjoy your stories, especially when you talk about the Bell Witch and then the research that you put into, because you put in some really extensive research on everything that you talk about. So it is always a pleasure. Always.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Next time we'll have to talk again about some other case.
Yes, we definitely will. And I'll get you hooked up for next season so we can do that and get some stuff going.
Okay, sounds awesome. Well, it's been wonderful. I really appreciate you having me on the show. It's been a blast.
It has. Don't go anywhere. Stay right there, and I'll talk to you a little bit after the show. Y'all that are tuning in, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions for Pat, please go hit him up on the websites that he said. Until next time, stay free, stay safe, always do unto others as you would have them do unto you. See you guys later. Bye, y'all.
Switch it on and come along. Haunted houses all night long. Gaming streams and ghostly scenes. Just chatting with the in-betweens. IRL, she's on the case. Finding spirits in each place. Every game she plays with flair. G.E.E.K.S, paranormal, she's there. Ghosts and games all night. G.E.E.K.S, paranormal's bright. Just chatting feels so right. Trying to stream, it's quite a sight. From the haunted house she flies, gaining worlds under the skies. Chat and laugh, let's have a blast. G.E.E.K.S paranormal here at last. Ghosts and games all night. G.E.E.K.S paranormal's bright. Just chatting feels so right. Try to stream, it's quite a sight. From the haunted house she flies, gaining worlds under the skies. Chat and laugh, let's have a blast. G.E.E.K.S paranormal here at last. Ghosts and games all night. G.E.E.K.S paranormal's bright. Just chatting feels so right. Try to stream, it's quite a sight. In the dark she finds the light. Streams of fun, she's out of sight. Every ghost and gaming fight keeps paranormal shine so bright. In the dark, she finds a light. Streams so fun, she's out of sight. Every ghost and gaming fight Geeks Paranormal shines so bright. Ghosts and games all night, Geeks Paranormal's bright. Just chatting feels so nice. Try to stream, it's quite a sight. It's quite a sight.